let's jump into the world of the recession. This huge economic event that impacts a lot of people, from businesses to consumers like us. But what exactly is a recession? How does it work? Why does it happen? And how do they impact you and I, especially if you live here in the US and in Canada? But this could also impact you if you live in different parts of the world as well. And that's what we're going to look at today. A recession is typically a significant decline in economic activity that can last for several months to a few years. To look at some signs of a recession that we can look at include falling GDP, rising unemployment, lower consumer spending, and slowing industrial production. In simple terms, the economy is slowing down, but in a big way. And oftentimes when you hear recession being said, you'll hear the term 2 quarters of negative GDP. Now, that's a good rule of thumb, but it's not always the full picture of a recession. But let's look at the GDP word first. What exactly is GDP? That itself stands for gross domestic product, which is basically the total value of all goods and services a country produces. Now this GDP, if it's growing, that means the economy is healthy. When it shrinks, however, it could be a red flag that there is an economic slowdown. Now then, how is a recession declared? Well, if you live in the United States, recessions are officially declared by the NBER, which is the National Bureau of Economic Research. In order for them to declare recession, they look at some indicators such as income, employment, production, and consumer spending. So it's not always just about the GDP when determining if a recession is imminent. Here in Canada, there is no official group that declares a recession. Instead, the Bank of Canada and Stats Canada monitor key factors like the real GDP, job numbers, and consumer behavior, ultimately making the decision. And when those indicators fall together, it's a strong sign that we're in a recession. So now, how do recessions impact the economy? Well, in Canada and in the US, recession can have a serious effect on businesses as they start to cut back. And in some cases, we've heard of businesses closing down. Also, layoffs will happen. Job losses will start to increase. People like us will stop investing and stop spending, and ultimately the consumer confidence will drop. Financial markets will also be impacted, like the stock exchanges here in Canada and those in the US will often take a hit when there's a recession, as we've seen in history. You'll also see some sectors like retail, construction, and energy also take a hit from this as well. Now, to look at a real world example of this, let's go back to 2008 when there was a financial crisis. Now, that was one of the worst that we've seen in many years, but it started with the housing market collapse in the US. Now, that ultimately led to global bank failures. Unemployment in the US hit almost 10% and nearly 9% here in Canada. Now, how does a recession impact you and I? We'll start to see, as mentioned previously, job losses. Companies may not hire as much people. Our wages might not grow. They might even start to fall. Loans might become harder to pay or even get, and ultimately the cost of living might stay high. So for example, if you live in cities like Toronto or Vancouver here in Canada, housing could be even harder to afford, debt could feel worse, and as interest rates rise, making mortgages and loan payments even more painful. So ultimately, how do we recover from a recession if it has that significant impact on us and the economy? Well, the good thing is recessions are temporary, and history has proven it. So let's look at some examples of those. In the early 1980s, the recession, which was caused by high inflation, ultimately the economy bounced back by the mid-80s. The 1990s recession, sparked by oil prices and real estate, recovered in a few years. The 2001 dot-com bust, which was hit hard, eventually the economy rebounded by 2003, and the 2008-2009 Great Recession, which we just talked about. It was a slow recovery, but ultimately the economy got there and rebounded. And the 2020 COVID-19 crash. It was sharp, but there was a quick rebound because of innovation and ultimately the government support, which is key because the governments do play a vital role in helping the economy rebound out of a recession. They have tools such as lowering the interest rates to make borrowing easier, and also adding stimulus packages to boost spending and job creation. Now, when we look at the 2008 crash as an example, Canada rolled out a $40 billion stimulus, including infrastructure projects, home renovation tax credits, job training programs, industry support, and increased family and senior benefits, all in a sense to get the economy going again. Ultimately, their goal is to support the businesses, rebuild confidence, and create jobs. So yes, recessions can be tough, and they do have a large impact on the economy and us as individuals and consumers as well. But the key thing is here, they don't last forever. Eventually, people will start to spend again, jobs return, businesses grow, and consumer confidence rebuilds. And we've seen that over the years. We go through a recession, but ultimately things come back and often stronger than before. So appreciate it if you stuck all the way to the end of this video. It does mean a lot to me. And if you did find this video on recessions informative, I do kindly ask that you hit the like and subscribe button down below. It does mean a lot to me to make and continue to make these videos for you and to grow this community. So thanks again for sticking to the end. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.